Let's see here. Countdown to others. Countdown to others. Countdown. I've done a lot of countdown to others videos, but I haven't really done any on others itself. Now have I? What's up YouTube? LucasTV719 here, and welcome to Countdown to Others, the show where I don't talk about Inazuma 11 Others no Tenbin. Okay, here's a bit of backstory. When Inazuma 11 Others no Tenbin was first announced back in August, that's when I first got the idea for the series, and I had started a video and everything, but the day after I had to move back to college, and then after getting used to college again, everything got messed up and I got out of track. And by the time I was used, and I'm like, let me actually get to this, Inazuma 11 Walker and Outer Code was announced, so I decided let me talk about that instead because it was more current, and when I have time, I'll go back to Others no Tenbin. And yeah, well, nothing really happened from that, but now that Inazuma 11's taking a break from Outer Code and Walker for February, I'm like, alright, I'm going to use this month to do some backtracking, maybe make a couple side videos, and finally talk about Others no Tenbin, because that's what the series is named after. So with that all that out of the way, let's get started, shall we? Under normal circumstances, I would try to be more analysis-like, but since everyone's probably seen this trailer already, let's just speed through it now, shall we? So there are these kids, they're on this island, they love soccer, they're all friends, everything's nice and dandy. And then out of nowhere, soccer's being taken away from them by the higher-ups and whatnot. So they're like, what do we do? And they're like, let's go to Tokyo. We join a team there, and then we can take back soccer for our island by winning the football frontier. And they're like, alright. So then they go to Raimon. They become the new Raimon 11, and their mission is to win the football frontier despite all odds, and they can take back soccer for their island. Easy, quick, simple, nice story. Along with that, we got some extra details. The first being that this Inazuma 11 actually takes place right after the first one, but in a different timeline where the aliens never attacked and things just went on as normal. They even got another episode called Another Episode 27 just to clarify this in production. We also learned that this game is going to be in veins more of the original games, so no Kishins, no Mixie Maxes, no Souls, and no crazy time travel stuff. Just a basic, well, as basic as Inazuma gets. Here we'll break a bit away from the trailer and really focus on what we know, starting with the main team, the Raimon 11. I'm going to try to make a quick overview of each of the new members of this team, minus Asto, because I want to focus more on him when I get on to the new big three. Let's start off with our goalkeeper, Umihari Norika. And the first thing I saw when I was watching this trailer was like, there's a girl on this team. This early into this new series? This is great. It's a huge step for Inazuma to have a girl this early on, and I love it. And it even helps in this new environment, because this is actually a team of friends who just play on their own island. They don't really play in the tournament that much, because they don't have a sponsor and whatnot. More on that later. But it makes it feel more like a group of friends, because just because she's a girl doesn't keep her from playing on the same team. And because of her, I am actually looking forward to girls on other teams. For example, at the end of Outer Code number 1, the girl who I thought was going to be the manager said she might feel like playing soccer herself. So if she ends up on the team, that'll just make it even better. I'm going to bundle these next 4 together because there isn't so much that I want to talk about them, so I'm going to get them over with quickly. From left to right, they are Hiyori Masakatsu, Hokuiri Hiro, Michinari Tatsuya, and Bansaku Yuichiro. Michinari is actually the captain, which is nice because that makes Astor not the captain, and I'm not too big on the main character being the captain unless it's necessary. It was good with Endo, but with Tenma I felt like it was a bit too forced. This way it's a bit better. Also, Bansaku is rocking the pop collar, which is funny because he's not a striker, he's a defender, and it's the first time we're seeing someone who's not the ace rocking the pop collar. Next three as follows from left to right are Iwato Takashi, Yura Kirina, and Hattori Honda. Now before I get on to Kirina, who I really want to talk about, let's talk about the two guys on the side. Iwato, I know I'm not the first person to say this, looks weird as hell. But he is playing a role as being, you could say, the inheritor of the wall. It's been confirmed he gets Kawayama's move. As for Honda, I'm guessing he's just the Shorin Shinsuke of this generation. Now let's talk about Kirina, the guy in the middle. His design is probably one of the best. He was actually leaked before the trailer, and I have a feeling that this guy is going to be the side of the big four, like the next or two, and you could call them the big five. They being our Kazemaru, Fubuki, Shinsuke, or Kirino. That's my prediction, and I truly hope so, because he is my favorite out of the new bunch. For our forwards, aside from our main character, Inamori Asto, we got Kozumaru Sasuke and Gojin Tensunosuke. Now, Sasuke is the guy everyone was looking at during the trailer, because this guy, he's short and stubby, and you don't expect much from him as a forward. And then he comes out and busts out Fire Tornado. So he's already some guy that we've got our eye on. But for myself, I'm actually a bigger fan of Gojin, because when they're first showing their plan to go to Tokyo, he's actually training, and he's like, "Have you heard of Fire Lemonade?" And I started laughing, because he's trying to do Fire Tornado. And when he says Sasuke pulling off the move he's been training to do, his face is priceless. I got a feeling he's going to be a mix of Someoka and Nishiki. Someoka as the striker who isn't as good as the main guy, but Nishiki as the guy who pulls out some jokes every now and then. One extremely small thing I want to mention before we finally get moving is that everyone on the team is a second or a third year. There's no first years. This is actually the first time that the main team doesn't have any first years. The only reason I'm mentioning this is because throughout Inazuma, once you become a second year, you're a lot more mature than a first year. Now, I don't know what happened in that 1 year, but it's just always been that way. Of course, I don't expect that logic to just hold up under anything, but I just think it's a nice touch here. And I like how that also explains why Michinari is captain. He's a third year. And I like how they're keeping the thing that the third year keeps the captain until he graduates, and then he passes it on to the next second year he finds is suitable. Lastly, we got our new coach and our new manager. Now, the new manager, Mikado Anna, hasn't really brought up too much interest in me, because she seems like just a normal girl. While it is nice that she is the only girl in the stands who is actually willing to give these island kids who are playing for their school a shot, so far there isn't too much interest in her. She's only had a line. I'm hoping to see some good things from her since she's the sole manager. Now the coach! That guy! His design is crazy. He looks like some stereotypical Chinese guy. Now, I've gotten a lot of different spellings for his name, but I'm going to go with the hiragana spelling on top of the kanji of his name, which is pronounced Cho-kin-un. I don't know if that's right. We'll figure out when the anime comes out, but until now, I'm going to be calling him Cho-kin-un. Now, I don't know what to think about him because his design is so crazy, but because when Sasuke busts out Fire Tornado, his words are, "It's time for the biggest upset of the century to begin," I have a feeling he's not going to be so much of a good coach, but more of a guy who wants his team to win so he can win some bets on the side. That's my impression of him, but it's mainly just on how weird he is compared to past coaches. Here's hoping he's any better than my previous expectations. Before we finally move on to the big three, I want to talk about this guy who was in the stands during the trailer, who I am convinced is Kudo. He looks just like him, he sounds just like him. Now the thing is, he's actually connected with other big three member Haizaki, but the thing is, the fact that he's connected to Anna in the constellation scene before the trailer ends makes me feel like Kudo, I'm just going to call him Kudo, whether he is or not, might end up being the team's new coach after Chinese Cho Ki-noon gets kicked out, because I cannot stand that guy as the perma coach, and I just have a strong gut feeling that he'll take over as coach maybe midway through the first season. Now we can finally talk about our new big three. We got Haizaki Ryohei, the devil on the field from Seisho Gakuen, Inamori Asuto, the soccer boy chosen by the sun from Raimon, and Nosaka Yuma, Ote Tsukunomiya's tactical emperor. Now it's weird to see the big three on different teams. Usually they're all on the same team either from the beginning or some way in the middle of the first season. However, seeing how they're all prominent members of their teams, I don't see them being together by the end of this season. If there's a second season where something bigger happens, much more scale than just a football frontier tournament, I can see them finally joining together for the greater good or whatnot. Now let's talk about them one by one, starting with Asuto so we can finish up Raimon. Asuto, I like how he's not captain, but he's a prominent figure of his team. He's the one who comes up with the idea, let's go to Tokyo to save our school. He's important, but he's not captain, but he's a very big figure among his friends. He's also our ace striker. It's a bit weird. I'm not the biggest fan of the ace striker being the main position, but I can deal with it. As for Haizaki Ryohei, he's epic. He shows off Death Zone in the opening trailer. And he knows Kido. He knows Kido, which is major. But the thing I'm wondering is how are we going to connect to this guy when he's like evil grinning all the time? He reminds me of Tsurugi when he first started. I'm like, how am I going to like this guy? He's evil. But Haizaki is like a whole nother level. He even macks his lips at the thought of strong opponents. So I'm a bit confused. As for Nosaka Yuma, we only get 5 seconds of him. He's talking to his teammate watching the Raimon vs. Seisho match. I wonder if they're having fun. And he's like, I'll bet. He gave me a Hiroto before he was Gran vibe. But, I'm not exactly sure what to think of him. The main reason I've been holding out on talking about the big three is that it's been revealed that there will be branching paths, which means you could choose to play as Haizaki, Asuto, or Yuma. Now, while this is a great idea in theory, I am having a bit of trouble seeing how this will work for either future seasons and future games. Now, while I believe the anime and probably future games will focus more on Asuto, is because the trailer showed him the most, and also he's the one in the center, so of course. But the thing is, Asuto is the one who seems to have the most sense in having a difficult story for us to tell. He's just trying to get soccer back for his island, and let's face it, his team isn't exactly expected to win. They're not as good. On the other hand, for teams such as Haizaki, he's part of Seisho Gakuen. If any episode of Outer Code has been any indicator, his team is the front runners. They're the biggest team to win the football frontier. They're the favorites. Everyone has their eyes on Seisho Gakuen. Now, how is that going to tell for an interesting story if the team you're rooting for is already expected to win? Usually you want to vote for the underdog. I mean, it's just natural. It's how Inazuma's always been. But Haizaki, he's already at the top. So I don't know how we're going to want to root for that guy if we choose his path. Now, of course, there is a chance he could have some side problems that we don't know of that make his story more relatable. The same goes for Ote Tsukunomiya and Nosaka Yuma. Not only is he captain of his team, he's also their ace striker and holds the title of a tactical emperor. Again, he seems like a really good player, and the fact that he is so good makes it hard to relate to them. And not only that, you gotta remember, the first match is Seisho Gakuen versus Raimon. So whoever's path you choose between those two, someone's dream is gonna get crushed. Either Heizuki's dream of winning, or Asto's dream of getting his island back. Well, getting Sakura back to his island is what I'm saying. So the different branching paths is a difficult idea, because it's a tournament. Someone's going to get knocked out. It's a really weird decision, and I'm really interested to see how they pull it off. Personally, I think the anime is going to follow Asto's path, and that's what I would prefer, because in my opinion, I feel that's going to be the most interesting choice. However, we don't know Nosaka and Heizuki's stories, so we don't have the full picture. We're just gonna have to wait and see. One of the new things that was revealed for this new series is the idea of sponsors being added. So, kind of like real life soccer teams, they got sponsors on their shirts of companies. Here we have an example of 4 teams. For Raimon, they got the island, which is basically Astro's motive. He wants to play and win so they can get Sakura back on their island. As for Seisho, they got Kira Star Pharmaceuticals, which is also going to be happening for Eisei Gakuen if Outer Code Episode 2 is any indication. As for Ote Tsukunomiya, they have Gecko Electronics. Just, I'm guessing, a big company for what I expect is going to be a big team. And then Hakuden has its own sponsor. If you remember from Outer Code Episode 3, Teikoku has Kido's dad running it, because his dad is he probably runs a big business. So the thing is, I'm not so sure how much sponsors are going to affect it. It's probably going to be more of a game mechanic than affecting the actual story. Maybe the better sponsor you have, the better chance you have at getting good items or something, or maybe better skills, easier to contact players. It's a nice new thing they're adding, and I'm not sure how it's going to affect it, but it's a nice thing to see that they're adding instead of bringing something crazy like Keishins and Souls. Don't get me wrong, I like them, but it's nice seeing a simpler touch being added as a new feature. Another new thing that's being introduced with this game is the 11 band. It's kind of an accessory you can wear, and it's also shown that every single character has one, obviously different colors for different teams. Now, while in the anime it seems to only be like a watch for kickoff and like a timer, so you know when the halves are over and whatnot, in the game there's actually a feature where you can transfer a player onto it and train that player on it as you walk around and you're not playing the game. Now this is, think of it sort of like the Pokewalker, back from Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver. Now while this idea is great for the game, especially if it comes for the Switch, as I'm theorizing, but there's a lot of people thinking it's going to have some impact in the story. Personally, I don't see it. I think it's just a timer being imported into a toy for the games, so it can get you to move a bit. I don't really see it being important in the actual show, but that's just my take on it. Maybe it's worth something. Who knows? One of the big things about this new series is how the setting, although in a parallel universe, can hint to previous characters. In the trailer we have Fuyukai, as much as I hate seeing him. Of course, we have the Kudo looking guy, and also when Heizuki is like ranting and raving after being scored on, he mentions that he knows Kido, and this is furthered when the constellations show up. We see Endo, Goenji, Fubuki, Kido, and Kageyama. Later we see a character poll where Goenji's new design is shown. Utani Tsukushi, that extra manager from the games, has a new design. Budo has a new design, and from Outer Code he's shown, and Outer Code has given us the idea of the reinforcement committee that has revealed people like Someoka and Kazamaru, and because of it, it has started to hint that the rest of the Daimon 11 will be in the game and show. And of course, it has even given us some new characters due to the new timeline. Examples being Fubuki Atsuya joining his brother, now alive, and Seijuru's kid, Kira Hiroto, the original one, also being alive, but with a completely different attitude. Now, before I leave, there is mainly one thing I want to talk about, and that is the meaning of Hades within the scales of Hades in the new Inazuma 11 series. We don't know what it's there for, and that's what I want you guys to talk about. In the end of the trailer, that Kudo-looking guy says the scales of Hades could change history. Now, I don't know what exactly this means and how it affects it. That's where I want you guys to come in and give me your ideas. I mean, usually I don't ask too much for comments, but this is a discussion video. This is where I really want people to actually share their opinions and theories and actually get a serious discussion going. So in the comments below, besides your own opinions and stuff, I really want your ideas on what the scales of Hades really symbolize. In related Hades news, as we know, Inazuma Walker comes out monthly, giving us information on how things are changing in the Hades timeline, with videos of Outer Code showing us new stories that we know about our favorite characters. Also, alongside the Hades anime that will be happening in the summer, we are also getting another anime titled Locker Room. Now, from what I'm gathering, this anime is actually going to be a short. Another anime short could be that I know of is Tonari no Seki-kun, or The Master of Wasting Time Seki, which is basically like a 5-minute anime that usually plays, I'm guessing, in between shows on the 30-minute mark. But it's nice we're going to be seeing Locker Room, which I'm guessing is basically either the team or basically stories in between episodes to help us know like how they're thinking before matches, outside of matches, just like a nice 5-minute anime outside of our daily Inazuma. And finally, as a small thing, the new theme song for Inazuma 11 Hades no Tenbin is actually being played by a band other than T-Pistons and KMC. Before, they've done all the openings. Now, it's a song called Tenbin Ed Dash by Pugcats. These are, I'm guessing, the new Inazuma guys. So it's going to be nice to hear their songs. The song Tenbin Ed Dash is the one that played at the end of the trailer, and is also the one I use for my Countdown to Hades opening title card. So it's going to be nice to see what songs they have for the games and for future seasons of the anime. And finally, we come to the end to this extremely long video. I want to thank anyone who's made it this far for sticking with this entire video. It's just tons of hype that I've had for Hades no Tenbin been piling up, and I haven't really been able to talk about it because I've been trying to stay up to date with Inazuma Walkers and Inazuma 11 Outer Code, which is still going to keep coming. So if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate it, and I strongly urge you to start some discussions in the comments section. Like I said before, this is a discussion video which is mainly made for the comments. I've given my opinions out here. You give me yours and we can get a discussion going. That's the main purpose of this video. So, I'd like to thank you all for sticking with me throughout this insanely long video. More content on Hades is coming out every month with Outer Code, and you can believe I'll be there along with some side videos on the side. Until next time, I've been LucasTV719. Till we meet again, folks.